Hello. This is a video about the processing that I do on invertebrate images as of May 2017. It's about the process that I use, which may or may not be useful in part or in whole to other people. We all have to find our own techniques and so on to see what works for how we prefer to work and what sort of thing we're trying to do. And it is related to this particular date. My techniques and the products I use do keep changing. It's for single shot captures of invertebrates, so it doesn't cover stacking or exposure blending or any other multi-image technique for which I use different workflow and different products. It's a workflow that works best, well, part of it only works with RAW, which is what I use, and this particular workflow that I'm showing is one where the images are always captured using flash illumination, and they're captured with a Panasonic FZ330 bridge camera, and I'm using it at minimum aperture, which is the equivalent of f/45 on a full frame or f/28 on an APS-C camera, and using a close-up lens rather than a macro lens. The technique may be different if any of that is different. The technique that I use may be different if any of that is different. Maybe, but may not be. My aim is to produce 1300 pixel high JPEG images, and they're intended for viewing on screen rather than printing. They're best viewed full size. I'm not reckoning on anyone pixel peeping them. In fact, there's no point because they are produced 1300 pixels high, and they're produced so as to be best viewed in subdued lighting on a calibrated screen. And there are taste issues as well. They look probably low contrast and slightly desaturated colours, or perhaps a lot desaturated colours compared to what a lot of people prefer, which is much higher contrast and greater saturation in their images. But that's just a taste thing. The actual workflow has to deal with large image sets. For my close-ups and macros, I go out and capture 300, 500, 700, occasionally over 1,000 images in a session, and I want to be able to deal with that effectively and not get bogged down in dealing with this large number of images. A lot of them don't work. Typically I may keep 5% to 10% of the images that I capture during a session, and it can be less than that. And where they aren't actually failures, there may be a run of images that are so similar to one another that I only want to use one of them, which also decreases the final number that I use out of this very large number that I start with. The workflow has a number of stages. It uses quite a bit of software, 5 different pieces of software, and it's inevitably going to look complicated and long-winded. Explanations take time, but actually the process is pretty fast, and we need to bear in mind that the workflow and the product set and all the product set may be or will be different for me in some circumstances, such as for flowers. Excuse me. I don't use one of these 5 products that I use for invertebrates. Different workflow for different cameras sometimes. Natural light work I treat differently from flash work, and there are some other reasons as well why the workflow may be different from what's being described here. So the stages in the workflow are first to load the images onto the PC and do a backup, do a first cut selection, then do some batch processing on the images in this first cut selection, then do image specific processing. So each image that's left at that stage gets treated individually. And while that's going on, I'm refining the selection, because again there may be similar ones at that stage, so I may pick the best of 5 or 10, or it may be that there are 15 of a given subject that are very similar, and 3 or 4 of them I might use any of them. So at that stage I don't worry about trying to pick the best one. The emphasis is the whole time actually on speed. If I come to the point where I'm having trouble deciding, I just leave the images in I can't decide about and carry on. Then, having gone through them all, I generate 1300 pixel high JPEGs, and I look at them very carefully in an application, a viewer that handles the colours properly, and lets me look at each. I look at each individual image and think, now, do I really want to use this? And some of the time I decide, well, actually no, it's really not good enough. And sometimes it's a case of, well, it might be good enough if I processed it differently. Once I've finished that, going around that loop, I then decide what order I'm going to store these in, so that if someone is looking through the whole set, there'll be some sort of logic to the order that they're seen in. And at that point, that's where the very similar ones drop out, because at that point I do decide on, if I've got several that are very much the same, very similar, I do decide on which one of them that I'm going to use. And if I've got ones that are too similar to one another in a sequence, I'll take ones out of the sequence until it seems to flow nice enough to me. There's probably still far more images than some people are interested in looking at anyway, but that's the process I use. And then there's some administrative stuff to do with tidying up and uploading stuff, making backup copies, and some reference material that I do. So what I'm going to do now is to go through each of these stages in more detail, and I'm going to use a real-world example to go through the process so that we can see it from a practical point of view and not just as a theoretical thing. I've been out to a local wood this afternoon taking photos of small things. So the first step is to load the images onto the PC and do a backup. I've taken the memory card from the camera and put it into a card reader, and in Faststone I tell it to load them into a folder in a month, in this month. So I say download, and it has a look at them, and there are 648 of them. And so I tell it to start, and now I have to wait or go away and do something else while these download onto the PC. The images, which are raw files, are now on the PC, and the next thing I do is to connect another drive an external drive, and I'm going to copy all the images across to that. So here is the primary drive. It is actually an external drive, and the images we just loaded onto the PC are here. I'm just going to add a little bit of information to help me keep track. And the other thing is, this was an Avon Wildlife Trust site, so I'm actually going to put it in here. So what I'm now going to do is to go to the other drive, which has a very similar file structure, which I'm just looking in the wrong part of, and in fact I want it to go into here, into that one. So I'm now going to copy them across onto the other drive, and again we have to wait now while this completes. With the backup completed and the backup drive now disconnected, we can move on to the next stage, which is the first cut selection. For this I'm going to use Faststone, so I'll go to the folder that's got the raw files in. Now this, oh by the way, I'm going to make, while I'm thinking about it, a new folder, so let's call it First Cut Raw. Okay, and Faststone is reading the embedded JPEG files in the raw files, so it will go between them nice and quickly. You'll notice, by the way, these look very dark compared to how we want them to come out later, but hopefully that'll be okay. Now what I'm going to do is, you can tag things in Faststone by pressing the / key. So I've got one finger on the / key with my left hand, and my right hand I've got the arrow keys. And what I can do is to go through, and if I think something might be worth working on, I can tag it. So if I press the / key, up at the top we get this red marker, and I'll be able to select all the ones with the red marker later. So when I go through, what I'm doing is going to essentially not choose all the ones that I'm very quickly sure aren't going to be usable. So if I start going through these, that might be okay. That might be okay. I don't think so. No, that one isn't, because the head's out of focus. I'll just go on. That isn't. It's out of focus. That might be. I don't think that one is. That one certainly isn't. And so if I concentrate on it, I can actually go through faster. So what I'm looking for is ones that jump out at me. See how many of them are just no good at all. I did say, I have said previously that I get, and I'm going to choose that one, a high failure rate with these things. And I'm not being too discriminating. I'm just trying to avoid not picking ones that might be okay. So if I concentrate on this, you see, I'm picking ones, actually picking some of them that I'm fairly sure I won't be using. There's a whole load of them. I didn't pick one. There's one. Whoops. Now here we've got some that may have worked. That one didn't. That one might have. That was just testing something or other. None of those. That one, the head's not any good for that one, nor that one. That's no good. That's no good, and so on. I'm not picking many of these. These have not these have not gone very well at all. And I just keep going like this, and we'll come back later when I've finished this. The first cut selection is finished now, and I ended up picking 160 out of the 648 for the first cut. We won't be using anything like that number finally. And so the next step is batch processing. There are two stages with the batch processing. The first uses DxO Optics Pro and the second uses SilkyPix. So if we go to DxO, I'm now going to point that at the first cut raw, the selected images, the 160 of them, and it now knows there are 160, so I'll select them all and apply a preset. And I'm applying the same preset to all of them, and then say export to disk. And I won't just start this yet, but that's the process. That's all that's involved. I then say export and then go away and do something else while it produces them. Let's just have a look though, before I do that, at what it's going to do. These presets, if I have a look at one of these images, and I don't think we'll be using that one, and oh, I see, it's a bit better than I thought. Have a look at what's happening here. It's doing what's called smart lighting, which will help a bit with the darkness of them. It's using clear view, which increases the clarity. It's also going to increase the micro contrast, which will help bring out detail, and the noise reduction. This is what DxO is especially good at if you're using RAW, and if DxO knows about the type of RAW file and the camera that you're using, is prime noise reduction. And the other thing it's going to be using, which I can't see just at the moment, is this lens softness, which especially since I use very small apertures and my images are very soft, this helps bring back some of the detail, or appears to bring it back. I don't know if it actually can recreate what wasn't there in the first place, but it certainly helps. So those are the things that this preset is going to do to each of these images, and it'll take 20 or 30 seconds for each image. The amount of time it takes depends on how big the raw files are, so it's different for different cameras. So I've applied that preset to all of them, and when I say export to disk, I'm going to export it as a DNG, or export them as DNG files. The reason for doing this is that DNG doesn't fix the white balance in the way that, for example, TIFF does. So SilkyPix can work on the white balance, and SilkyPix is particularly good with, in my view, is particularly good with colours. So that's the way around that I prefer to do it, rather than having DxO produce TIFF files for SilkyPix to work with. So when I say export it, it's going to put into the same folder as these raw files that it's working on. It's going to put DNG files, each of which will have been worked on with this preset over here. And what I've just done is asked for it just to do that one, which is not what I wanted to do, so I'll cancel that one, and this time I'll select them all, and it's selected 160, and I'll tell it to export to disk. I'll tell it to do DNGs into the original image folder, and now again we have to wait. At 30 seconds ago, if it is 30 seconds, it's a bit less than that probably, this is going to take, for 160 files, it's going to take 80 minutes. It'll take an hour or so to cook these. DxO is quite well behaved. You can use the PC for other things while this is going on. And in any case, you can just walk away from the PC and do something else for a bit. So the actual time involved in doing this stage is negligible. You select them, you apply the preset to all of them in one go, and you tell it to go off and do the business, and then you go and do whatever else you want to do for half an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, depending on how many images there are in the set that you're working on. So we'll leave it there for now and come back when this has finished its processing. The DxO processing is finished now, and it took 58 minutes to do the 160 images, so it was a bit under 30 seconds an image. Of course, how long it takes depends upon the PC that you're using and how powerful it is. Most of the time is spent on the prime processing. If you don't use prime noise reduction, then it works a lot faster. Let's just have a quick look at one of the images. This is roughly how it looks now after the processing. The noise reduction, I think, probably isn't exactly as it will be when the file is exported. But if we have a look, this is what it was before, and that's what it is now. And so the automatic light, whatever it was called, is making quite a difference. Also, you probably can't see it on the video, but the details are more visible now on the fly, the hairs on it, for example. So the next stage is to do the second part of the batch processing, and that uses SilkyPix. So I'll point SilkyPix at the directory that contains the DNG files. Now this is organized so that the DNG files come up first, so I can select them all by going halfway down and seeing where the raw files start compared to the DNG files, and there's the last of the DNG files, so a shift click selects those. I can then apply a preset to these, and I'll just pick one that I normally use, and I then tell it to batch develop the images, and it's making a list of the ones it's going to process, and then it will do the processing, which will be faster than the processing for that DxO did. If we have a look, we can see what speed these are going at, and so these are going through much quicker. It will still take a while, but not nearly as long as the DxO processing took. What this SilkyPix processing is doing is dealing with the highlights. SilkyPix is very good at helping to retain information in highlights, so I'm using it to pull the highlights down It's a bit complicated to explain in SilkyPix. It's a bit difficult to understand how it works. It took some time to work out exactly how to set it up for this. But see, dealing with the highlights is one of the things that it's doing. The other thing that it's doing is some quite aggressive sharpening. Now, the DxO has already not exactly done sharpening, but it's done the micro contrast enhancement and the lens softness correction, as it calls it. This that SilkyPix is doing is more normal sharpening, but say it is pretty aggressive. Having done the DxO noise reduction, which is so good, it's giving SilkyPix quite a, as it were, smooth surface to work on. And so I can be more aggressive with the sharpening than would otherwise be the case. However, SilkyPix, with this particular sharpening and the amount of it I'm using, does create artifacts in smooth areas of images. Now, at the 1300 pixels high that I produce the images, it usually doesn't show up. It might in areas where smooth areas where I've really brought up the shadows a long way in the final stage, the image specific stage in Lightroom, but generally it doesn't show. However, if I crop a lot, then that does bring it to the fore, and it can be a problem at my normal size of 1300 pixels high. I've got a feeling we may encounter that later on when we come on to the image specific adjustments for some of these images. But for now, it's a matter of waiting until SilkyPix has finished this processing. One thing I didn't mention is if we go back to the batch development dialog, SilkyPix is producing TIFF files. It's reading in DNG files from DxO, and it's producing TIFF files, 16-bit uncompressed TIFF files. These are pretty big, by the way. And it's putting them in a subdirectory which we'll find later on, in a subdirectory of the directory which holds the raw files and the DNG files. So we'll wait for it to finish now. The SilkyPix batch processing has finished now, and that means that that stage, the batch processing stage, is completed. So the next thing is image specific processing, and along with that some selections as we go along. The image specific processing is done in Lightroom, and the first thing we need to do is to tell Lightroom where to find the images. Now what we're looking for is the TIFF images that have been produced by SilkyPix. So we tell Lightroom that we want to import, and we point it at a subdirectory where SilkyPix has put these, and there they are, and we tell Lightroom to import them, and this doesn't take very long. So now we can actually see what we've got, see if we've got anything worth using, and give us a bit more space here. Now this one might be okay, and so what I'll do with this one, on the grounds that it might just be okay. Oh well, I don't like the fact that the wing's been cut off actually. Let's look at the next one. This one is possibly okay. I'm not very keen. Oh, I don't know, I suppose the body's okay. Yeah, let's do that one. So the first thing I do, I generally in Lightroom concentrate on this basics area. First thing I'll do is to get the exposure, as Lightroom calls it, the brightness I suppose you could say, to roughly the level that I want to end up at on average. And then this area here is looking rather bright, so I might well bring the highlights down to stop that drawing the eye so much. There's a gap at the top of the histogram, so I'll draw the top end up, and of course that's brought those highlights back up. And there's a gap at the bottom end, and I might or might not close this up. What I'll do is pull it down so that the blacks do become black, and I don't want to overdo it, but then I might bring the shadows up slightly, and that's bringing the background up, and that will, we're at risk of noise there, but there we go, we'll do that one. Now here's another one which was exposed in a similar way, so it's quite possible that the same settings will have a suitable effect on it. So what I'm going to do is to transfer the settings, or copy the settings from the one that I just did to the other one, and that's what the other one looks like now. We can see on the left what it was before, and on the right what it looks like now. Again, the highlights look a bit strong to me on that, so I've drawn them down just a little bit, and in fact I might prefer that to the other one. The legs are better, I can see more on the legs than on this one, but on the other hand the hairs on its proboscis, if that's how you pronounce it, are perhaps not quite as good, though on overall I think I probably prefer that one. Now, or I could use both. Yeah, I can't decide at the moment, so I'm going to mark both of these as being green. I'm going to put a label on them. So I'm going to carry both of these through to the next stage. And what I do now I don't like that one. Yeah, doesn't look too good. Don't know that I like any of these particularly. That one possibly, if I crop that one, and well, the eye's in focus, that's it's a bit borderline really. I'll mark it up for the moment, but I think that one will drop out later. Incidentally, going back to these two, I didn't actually crop them, but I don't think I will actually. One of the things here is that this side is rather, this whole of this side is rather bright, so one of the things that I might do is to put what's called a what is it called, a graduated filter down here, and pull the highlights down, move that across a bit, and also perhaps the exposure. You've got to be careful not to overdo this, but that's how it was before I did that, and that's how it is afterwards. It sort of balances it up a bit, stops this the back end of the body looking a bit artificially bright, calms it down a bit, and so there's more light now here, that's sort of highlighted in terms of the brightness. So that might be a good idea. And I could do the same sort of thing. In fact, what I could do is to yes, I could synchronize those two and just put the graduated filter across from one to the other. Now this one has the same graduated filter applied to it as the other one does, and I think that's a bit over the top for that one. So in fact I would lessen the effect of it, let the exposure perhaps go back up, or maybe let the highlights go back up a little bit, yeah, to even it out. So we've got those two differently processed now. They look inconsistent with one another, but there we are. I'm not going to worry about that at the moment. So going on here, I'm to be honest, I'm not convinced about that one. This one, being more from a distance, might actually come up better with more of it within the depth of field. So if we crop that down a bit and then have a look, yeah, that's one that's more likely. I'll set that to green. Now, just because I'm saying I'm setting these to green doesn't mean I'm going to actually use them. It means that I'll put them in the list to be thinking about later. And this one, perhaps make it more of a distant view. Possibly, yeah, I'll keep that one. On we go. Oh, that one's no. You see the halter there is not. This is not quite sharp to my way of thinking. None of these are actually really speaking to me much. That one, perhaps if we pulled the highlights down a bit. But again, the eye, the head doesn't look good. None of these look really good to me. No, I'm not convinced by that. I don't think I'm going to use any of these, to be quite honest. It just wasn't working. Alright, so that's those. I've marked some up as green, but I've got a feeling they're not going to be used. This one also doesn't look... I like the colours, I like the composition, but I don't think it's sharp enough. Let's just try adjusting it. I'll deal with the gap at the top. That's letting Lightroom take it up as far as it thinks is suitable. And sorry, I'm doing that the wrong way around. I'll turn the exposure down slightly, perhaps. Take the top end up. Bring the shadows up a bit so we can see better the underside of it, and then bring the blacks down a bit. Well, yeah, I might actually keep that one. I know I'll give it green for the moment. I think that one might end up being the first of these that we actually use. Right, now I've got this. This was an ever such a small snail. It was absolutely tiny. I mean, this, you can see the venation on the, if that's the word, on this leaf. It really was small. And that one may be okay. So let me see, the overall brightness looks okay. I'll take the whites up. They didn't go up that far, and maybe the want to be careful here, not take the blacks down too much. That's about it, and I'll leave that one without cropping it for the moment. I might come back. I want to see what else I've got. Now, notice that I'm making selections here as I go along. Some of them are selections of the yes, I'll carry it through and look at it in the next stage. And some of them are, if I've not marked them as green, we're not going to see them again. They've just been rejected at this point. So if I That's not enough of that is really in focus, and that doesn't look good there, so I'm not convinced about that. And no, I don't like that. That one, I wonder what happens if I crop it just a bit. Now I've got this awkward bit down here, and what I may do is get rid of that, and that's a bit bright and taking my eye as well, so I might get rid of that as well, if I can do it without it being too obvious. Oh, there we go. Yeah, I'll keep that one. That one's green. That's the only one of those that I want. That eye doesn't look... Oh, that's the eye there, and it's... Yes, it's not good. So now we have... so not enough of that is in focus. This might be okay if we crop it in. Now this is where we're likely to come into issues with noise, with a big crop. That doesn't look too bad. Let me send the top end up and the highlights down, and the bottom end just, whoops, ease the bottom end down. Oh, there we go. Oh, right, okay. Not too far. Oh, and there's one thing I will do to these that I forgot. What I often do these days is just turn the clarity up a bit. And so what I'm going to do now is to select everything, and I'll synchronize just the clarity, so all of them have now got clarity plus 10. So I'll go back to this one, and having done that, I want the bottom end to be not so pulled down so far, something like that. I wish I didn't have this light from the diffuser there, but I don't know how to get rid of that with these very round shiny objects. Here's another one where I might actually synchronize everything, including the cropping, and see what happens with that one. And yeah, it's sort of out of focus there, but it's not too bad. I'll keep that one, and not so keen on that one. That one I'll try the same way as those other two, see how it goes. Now compose it so that I've still got that in there, not cutting it off. No, that was not so good. The eye isn't so good, so I'm not going to make that one green. Let's see what this one looks like, and synchronize that one. Oh, that's better. That's better. But it's how can we deal with that? Oh, there we go. And yeah, I'll have that one to consider next time around. Oh, this little thing, I don't know what it was, and it was terribly small. I was using, this is 5mm across, that's the maximum magnification that I can use with that particular setup. So this really was rather small. I don't know, is that 0.5mm or something like that? I don't think I got a decent picture of it. No, this is something else. So that's the only attempt I had at that. Do I want to keep it? I don't really think it's good enough. So no. This one I took loads of photos of, but again, oh, now this is something else. This is a smaller one of the ones we saw before. Now it's not brilliant, but just because it's small, I think, oh, and oh, wow, now, let me, this is not even cropped. That's interesting. I think I must have been using a fair amount of magnification for this. Let me crop this, and yeah, the eye is not quite. What I might try doing is increasing the clarity just around the eye. Just there we go. I don't know if you're going to be able to see that on the video, but yeah, possibly. I'll keep that one for next time and consider it. Oh, we got more of the same thing. So what I'll do, I think all 4 of these. So I'll synchronize. I won't synchronize the crop. I won't synchronize the now the local adjustment. That was a. Now what did I just use there? That was that was a radial filter, right? So I'll synchronize everything except the local adjustments. I will synchronize the crop. And so let's have a look and see what we've got here. I think the eye is a bit better on that one, and no, that one needs to move like that. So that's a more distant shot of it, with more, apart from this antenna, more of it in focus. So that could use that as a distant one, and one of the others as a closer up shot. So what I'm going to do is to consider this later. Any of those might get used. I think I might use 2 of them. Now this one, let me see. I'm just going to go and have a look and see what size I'm cropping this to 1700. So I'm not cropping it to 1300 yet, so I could possibly take it a little bit further if I wanted to. Let's just crop it in a bit further and have a look. Okay, I'll keep that one for later. This has actually got there's texture missing off the surface here, I think. So there may be one that does that better. Oh, now this one is here simply because there was this very small thing up here, and this was the only shot I got of it. But to be quite honest, it's so small and it's in such an awkward position that well, I might keep that one out of interest. It's not a brilliant photo, but someone might be able to identify it perhaps, and that's the only one I've got of that. Anyway, you get the idea. This is the sort of processing that I do. I'll keep on talking as I'm going through, but probably in the video we'll stop at this point, but if there's anything else that comes up that's of interest, I'll add it. Now this little thing, tiny, not really in focus. No, it was zooming around like mad, and I only got that one shot of it. Now, let me see. Yeah, I'll keep that. And let's adjust. We'll go back to here. In fact, yeah, bring the highlights down. that's how it was, that's how it is. Could be. Transfer that to these, including the crop, I suppose. And yeah. Right. No. Yes. Okay. No. Another snail. Another very, well, quite small snail. Eyes not in focus. Left eye not really visible. Ah, that's more like it. Let's see. Overall brightness, perhaps down a fraction. Take the top end up, bottom end down a bit, and then, oh, we've got loads of these, so we'll synchronize everything except the crop, and we haven't done any local adjustments. And I think that's not in focus as much as I'd like. Let's have a look at the rest of these and see if there's anything better. Eyes are quite good. Again, the nearer side of it's out of focus, and I prefer it was the other way around. Now, as a distance shot, yeah, that's okay. Let's have that one and that one, which is very similar to it. In fact, that one is as well. Gosh, these are all very similar. Maybe, oh right, a more distant shot, except I've got vignetting around the edges. If I cut that off, I probably get back to the same size as one of the others anyway. Let's see, that's a distant shot. Oh yeah, yeah, okay, I could use that as a distant shot. So we'll have that one. What else have we got here? Oh, no, this is the other way round. In fact, that one, if I was to crop it, I suppose everyone would probably be more comfortable if I was to rotate that one, which is a transform, and actually do the crop the other way round. Whoops, I want it longer and thinner. Now this is turning into quite a big crop, but it may be sharp enough. Yeah, yeah, I think, I can't really make it any bigger. Can I take that up at all? Oh, that's because that one won't go up. Let me see. That's about the maximum I can get out of it. Yeah, okay. I'm going to turn the clarity up a bit on this. I'm going to try it. No, I think I'm trying too hard with this one. Okay, well, I'll come back to that later. Eyes are not really as good as I'd like. Yeah, okay, let's leave those. Oh, this fellow. No, let's give this a bit of a crop. And how many of these have we got? Right, these all look similar. So I'll adjust this one so that now the overall exposure, that's it, take it down, take the whites up, take the highlights down just a little, perhaps, and the blacks, what do I want to do with that? Yeah, there we go. So if I now sync that lot and have a look through them. Oh, that's a more distant shot, but I've got to, for compositional reasons, I'll have to go back there. Now that might work in terms of the depth of field. Yeah, okay. No, yeah, that's a possibility. Oh, I think that one's better, except that middle bit isn't. Oh, it's not so brilliant on that one either. Okay. Oh, now that one jumped out at me. Now that one's better. Right, we'll have that one. And I think, yeah, we'll try these two as well. And let's give this one a crop and see what it looks like. Yeah, that's not bad. Okay, can't see the eye too well, but never mind. Yeah, we'll have that one. And let's give let me see. Ooh, right, we'll have that one as a distant one, or maybe that one's a bit better. Let me see. I don't know. Okay, so yeah, what I'll do in this case, I'll make a virtual copy, and one of them I'll leave uncropped for a somewhat distant view. The composition's okay, am I? These two bits at the top are possibly annoying me slightly, but I don't know if I can. Yeah, don't know, let's see. Yeah, okay, so that's my distant shot. Now I'll use the virtual copy to go in a lot tighter on it and see if I can get a big doff out of that. That's not too bad, although it hasn't got as much doff as one of the others. Right, we'll have that one and that one. Now these have a different brightness to them. They run from up to there. So no, I don't think I'd want to use this one anyway, because the back end is out of focus. That's, the head is no good. That one, neither the head nor the back end is any good. This one, back end's not brilliant. This one, that one may be okay. Right, I'll adjust this one so the exposure, now it's got a dark half and a light half, so well, on average I suppose it's perhaps about right. I'll take the top end up. I'll bring the shadows up a bit so we can see the head a bit better, but I'll take the dark end, the blacks, down so that we've got the overall dynamic range. And the highlights, Yeah, gotta be careful with that. Don't know. So what happens then if I crop this? Yeah, not too much. Well, no, not really, I don't think. Let's try syncing the rest of that group in terms of brightness and so on, darks and lights. No, the back end's no good on that one. The antennae are no good on that one, and the back end's no good on that one. So I don't think I'm going to use any of those. Oh yeah, okay. Look, I'll maybe use that one. Oh, this one didn't work out. I don't think I'm going to use any of this. Let me see. Yeah, bring the highlights right down because of that area there. Bring the blacks. Well, yeah, okay. So then sync all that stuff with the others and just see if any of them's any good. No, the eye stalks are no good. The near eye is no good there. Oh, now that is possible. Yeah. We'll have that one. And oh, there's another one. No, I think that one's better. Oh, that might be okay. How about? I don't think there's much to do by way of cropping, unless I'm not sure about this. Let's just have a look. See, might crop it that way. No, I think it's actually better in its context. So we'll leave that like it is. So we got two of them. No, left eye no good, right eye stalk completely no good. It's stretching out nicely, but no, left eye stalk in shadow. Ooh, I wonder. Let's try increasing the clarity a bit. Yeah, that's... Well, we'll keep that one and have a look at it. Don't know, don't think so. It's not really speaking to me. I suppose that's possible. Not really. I'm just not going to get many out of this set, I think, is the answer. I think, again, trying too hard. Now, this one is actually 90 degrees the wrong way round, but as it happens, I don't think that matters. Ooh, that one's better. Right, okay. If I pull that in a bit, whoops, pull that in a bit, and the white bit at the bottom, I might just try and de-emphasize that a bit. Take the highlights down so it doesn't draw the eye as much. Yeah, okay, we'll have that one. No, that was the one that spoke to me. Now we've got another one of these now. Have we? Well, that's got better texture, but that's not. Let's crop that. Let's see. That's not in focus. No, it'd be pushing it to do that. Let's think including the crop for these two just to have a look. Now the top is no good. No, not really. You can't see that. No, I don't think so. The eye is not that well. Now here's one. So if I pull that down like so, let's see how that one looks. Yeah, it could be. Take the overall brightness down a bit, bring down the highlights, bring up the top end, leave the bottom end alone, then make the same adjustments to these. Now, do we really want to crop that one that much? Don't think it can bear it really. That one. Perhaps if it wasn't cropped so much. Yeah, okay, well, that one, this one, ooh, that's, yeah, we'll have that one. Oh, I wish it didn't have that light on there. Anyway, that's that one. Ooh. I might make a virtual copy of that one. No, I just want to make a virtual copy of just the one. There we go. And use it. Oh, I see, it's already cropped. Of course it is. Okay. So that's okay. And alright, so here's another one of the same thing. So if we sync everything there, so that's already right. So what we'll try and do with this one, we'll see if it can bear a really quite big crop. Just going to go and have a look. The size of that is 1725. Okay, so we've now got a more distant one and a closer one. Yeah, I think that works. So we'll have both of those as green, and oh yes, this one. Now, what's that? No. Okay. Now this one. Top end up. Highlights. Careful now. Down just a bit, and the bottom end. Yeah, that's tricky. What happens if I crop it? Is that a vertical crop, I wonder? Or do I leave it like that? That's not too bad. Maybe, I wonder. Okay, we'll have that one. Now, happens. These all the same subject, sync everything except the crop, and yeah, crop that one. Yeah, it's got some texture on the body, that's not too bad. We'll have that one, and that's not looking so good there, but oh, it's very tempting, that one. All right, I think I'll be throwing this one away later. It's a almost worked one, I think, is how that's going to turn out. It's actually oh, pull the highlights down just a little bit more. Right, we'll have that one. Maybe pull the highlights down a bit more on that one then, see if that... Yeah, okay. So the blacks want to come down as well. Not too much. Okay. Well, same here. Blacks are already down, but that's because of that over there. So if I pull them down some more, what have we got now? We've got that one, that one, that one. I suppose that's all right. Don't think that one is. I think the head's not good. That. I don't know. Let me sync these. Right. So, oh, maybe that one is okay. Let's do a crop on that. Yeah, okay. Let's have that one. Then yeah, I'm not totally convinced by them. That, oh yeah, there was that blade or something getting in the way there, which is a pity, but because I lost it at that point in behind there. Yeah, I think I'll have that one. So on we go. What have we got? Oh, this one. Yeah. Well, it's too bright, isn't it? So bring it down. Now take the top end up, highlights down. Maybe it does need to be a bit brighter, and bring the bottom end down. And what are you going to do with the shadows? Anything? Actually bring them, no, put them back how they were. Crop a bit maybe so we can see more. We want to leave that in, and that's about as close in as we can get. I don't think it'll bear much. Well, I don't know, it might. Yeah, so if we sync that lot, yeah, let's do a tighter crop on this. Wonder what, that's one of those little things there. Yeah, okay. How does that look? Not really, I don't think. Try turning the clarity. No. I really don't think it's there. I suppose sacrifice the composition. What happens? Oh, that's a bit awkward. That's actually better. Can't have both unless... Could you do that? Surely not. That doesn't look right. No, you've got to give up on that. And then... bring that up, I suppose. What am I cropping to here? 1860. That's not as bad as some of them, actually. Alright, so move it across that way. That's a bit of a distraction, so move it across there. Oh, no, too far. Well, I'll decide about that later. Oh, these guys. Yeah, I don't think that's no good. Oh, this little fella. No, he's not really in focus there. No. No. Oh, what a pity. No. Pity about that. They're not. No, they're not talking to me. That one's a possibility, I suppose. Yeah. Yeah, that one's a possibility. Top end, highlights down, bottom end's okay. In fact, what happens if we bring the yeah, okay. Now, what if we... Ooh. Gives that a damn great crop. See what you end up with. What size are we at? 1600 or so. Ooh. The overall brightness. Yeah, there we go. Take the whites up, the highlights down. Ooh. And the blacks down. Do I dare crop it any further? That's a big ask. Oh, can I see? No, I think that's a step too far. I think that's about it. We'll have that one. Now let's... Oh, how many of them are there? Oh, there's loads of them. Right, so we'll sync all of it apart from the crop and see if any of the others are any good. No. No, back end's not good. Let's go back to that one. Yeah, I don't think it's going to get any better than that. Nope. Uh-huh. Yes. Now, what we might do is try, try that. How does that compare with that one? It's not actually as good, but it's not cropped as much. The equivalent crop in terms of height might be, let's have a look. Ooh. In terms of the cropping of the other one, we haven't reached it yet. In fact, that would be, ooh, let's see. Wow. For aesthetic reasons, I think I'd probably like it further out. Yeah, we'll have that one. Oh, give it back, green. Oh, there's another one. No, I don't know. No, I think that's, no, I don't think so. Unless I can make it a distant view type one. Whoops. Oh, that's better. Ah. Well, I don't think the eyes are good enough. That's a pity. Ooh. Ooh. Let's see. Yeah. Oh. Okay. Yeah, let's just have that one like it is. And no, I don't think the eyes are up to it. Let's have a look. No, don't think so. Oh, so close, but the eyes are not. No. Same again. In fact, the whole thing is not quite in focus. Now, no. Ooh, now. Let's give that big. No, maybe not that big a crop. Let me see, just mark that one green for the moment. It's not. It's not quite up there with them, is it? I think I'll not have that one. No back end, no good. Well, back end out, but close. Don't think so. Ooh, now. is that. Oh, that composes nicely. Now, I wonder if we we got auto mask on there. Okay, and I want to get rid of the selection there. Now with this, oh, there's a bit. Okay, now with that lot I want to see if I can calm it down a bit without being silly about it. Too aggressive perhaps. Don't know, how would that notice? How would that look? If we turn it off, maybe instead of that, let me see, where is the pin for that one? Where is the pin gone? I've lost it. Oh, this is silly. Oh, there's no highlighted area anymore. Right, okay. Did I delete it? Anyway, what happens if we put a gradient down and again, oh, we don't want that there, and take the it's those brighter areas I want to affect on that. I think we'll have to leave it. Okay, alright, so I'll get rid of that one. And was there one of these? No, I don't think so. Right, yeah, okay. Take the top end up. Oh, but of course it makes that very bright now. All right, bring the highlights right down. Ah, okay, that's standing out quite nicely. Maybe just up there we can take the highlights down, maybe even take the exposure down just a fraction. Okay, there we are. Yeah, okay. Leave that one like that because I like the look of the rest of that. Okay, we'll have that one. And what have we got? No. No. Head, no good. And no. The snail. So let's look for one where its eyes look good. That's a possibility. That one's a long way out. Of course we can't crop it. Well, that's a possibility. Bring the highlights down a bit. Maybe. No, eye no good. No. So, unless one of those, no, that's probably the best one. So, convinced about that. Yeah, that's equalises the light up. No, that's not good enough. Okay. Oh, so close yet. No. Pity. No, the eye is not up to it. No, you can wish it as much as you like, but it doesn't make it good, does it? Okay. I've now gone through and marked up the ones, some of them as green. These are the ones I'm going to carry forward. So if I now select the green ones, what I find is that I've got, to my surprise, 51 of these. And again, we're not going to end up with 51 of them because a lot of them are very similar to one another. So what I'm going to do now is to select them all, and if we have a look at our list of things to do, the next one is generate 1300 pixel high JPEGs. So we've selected them all, and I'll create a directory to put them into. So I'll call this JPEG 1300H, and in Lightroom I will say export to a specified folder, and that specified folder is, back we go to where we were before, and that one, and renaming's okay. JPEG resize to 1300, don't sharpen it. Okay, export. Now we have another bit of waiting, which is for Lightroom to export 51 files. Okay, Lightroom has exported those, and I'm now going to review them, but I'm not going to use Faststone Image Viewer for this. The reason being that, although it claims to be a color managed application, it doesn't manage color properly, I believe. Images look different. Some images look different. Some of them look very different to my eye in Faststone as compared to how they look in Lightroom, which I believe does handle colors correctly. So what I'm going to do is to, if we have a look at the next step, this is the quality assurance step and associated rejection, is to open up XN view. Now this is an image viewer, but it's properly color managed. Things look the same in here as they do in Lightroom. You might ask why I want to use this as opposed to Lightroom. I just feel it gives me a better interface for doing this, the next thing that I'm going to do. So what I'm looking for is these, and I'm going to look at these, and what I'm going to do is to make it full screen. Now what's happening here? I'm not sure. Am I looking at the wrong ones? Are these 1300 high? Let me just go and check this. Yes, they are 1300 high. That's because, of course, I'm running the screen in as a 1920 by 1080. Normally I run this as a 2400 and some by 1400, which means that the image fits nicely on the screen with a border all round it. That isn't going to be the case here. I'd forgotten about that. Anyway, I'll still use this because the colours will be okay. And what I'm looking for is I'm looking at the backgrounds to see if they're noisy, and I'm trying to see that one's got I can see it's not noise, the effect that Silky Pix has on the backgrounds. I think I can see it there. And I'm not so much looking at the. Actually, I don't think I'm going to use many of these. In fact, look, these are sufficiently bad that I'll keep those. I'll keep that one. So I'm going to start deleting ones that I really don't think are up to it. No, I don't think so. They're not. No, I don't think they're good enough. I might keep. No, I don't think so. That one. No, it's not. It's almost there, but no, I don't think so. That one. Yeah, okay, I'll keep that one. Now these. Yes. Okay. Well, I'm giving that a bit of latitude for that one just because it's a bit different. It's a can you identify it type of thing. Well, if I'm keeping that one, I don't want to keep keeping that one because it's not as good. That one looks okay. Oh, I've got several like this that look alright. I'm not sure about that one. Yeah, okay. Right. Ooh. No. Oh. It looks very smooth. Is that because it is actually smooth? I think it might be. Yeah, okay, I'll keep that. Yeah, keep that for the moment. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yep. Oh, and these. Oh, yes. Okay, well, we're going to end up with not many from this. So I've looked through them, and this is the stage of are the ones that are left of an adequate quality? Well, yes, I think they are, and I have rejected some as I've been going along. There aren't any at this point where I think, well, maybe if I processed it differently I could make it okay. So the next thing is the display ordering and associated rejection. What this means is if I now go back in Faststone, I've now only got things in this directory that I think are of adequate quality. And now you can see that I've got ones that are very similar to one another. So I'll keep that because I haven't got another one like it. I'll keep that one because I haven't got another one like it. Now I've got these three here. Now this one is the back end, I mean the eye is okay in all of them, but this one's got sort of spiky bits there and all over, so I think this is the one to keep. So I'm just going to mark the other two up, and in fact I'll make a new directory called dropped, and I'm going to start putting things into there. Now these look as though I've got another 5 that are similar. This one is much smaller than the rest, so I'll keep that one. Now I've got several that are very similar to one another, and that one's a different orientation to the others, and it looks as if this is in a slightly odd position. Now why is that? 128119. I'll go back to Lightroom, look at the 1281, it must be this one. Yeah, 119. That one's in an odd position. I don't know quite how that ended up there. So what I'll do now is export this one with the previous and tell it to overwrite the one that's there. And if I now go back, this one is in a different position. Okay, I'll keep that one, and I've then got 3 similar ones here, and I'm not sure I'm going to keep any of them. The eye is, both eyes. Well, provisionally I'll keep that one, which means I'm going to get rid of these 2 here. So I've now got that one, and that one, which is a different orientation. Yeah, okay. This one, it really should have texture here. I don't know what to do with that one, but I have to make a decision, so I'm going to drop it. It's not up to it. This one, no, I'm going to drop it. This one, I think I'll drop this one because it's not any good there. This one, I don't know, it's not really, no, I don't think so. So I'll drop that one. Now I've got 3 that look very similar here, so I think I'm not quite sure about any of them, to be quite honest. I'll keep that one. So those 2 go. This one is a more distant view. I'll put that one first. So we go from there to there. Oh, no we don't. We go from there to there. And then this one. Yeah, this is the one that was the opposite way around. Yeah, I think I'll keep that one. Now, this springtail, how many of these have we got? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 that look as if they're in a similar orientation. This one is smaller than the others. I'll look at that first. Yeah, I'll keep that one. Now, in fact, that one, that one, right, they are very similar, but Yeah, that one's probably better than, oh, I don't know. Yeah, that one's better than that one, so this one gets dropped. So this is the one that I think is the good one. What's that? Oh, maybe that's... I'll count those as different enough. I can see the eye on that one. What I might do... What's this? This is 259. No, possibly. If I go back and look at the springtails, 259, right, one of these is an even bigger crop than the other, right, okay. So as far as this one goes, I'll just close it up. Oh, put that up there, right. Let's see how that one looks. So export that with the previous, overwrite the previous one, go back here, and that's the one we're looking at. And I think I'll use that now. Oh, so I haven't got... Oh, that one's... Where did that one come from? Oh, 259. That's 259. That's the one that was the different crop. Right, so I'll drop that one. So I've now got that. Yeah, it's moving around a bit. I'm going to keep them all. Okay, this one, quite like that. I'll just accept the fact that it's a soft looking beast. I'm going to keep those. I'll keep that one. Now, what have we got here? Now these are 1, 2 similar ones. This one, put that one first. Then those 2 similar ones. Very tricky. Oh, there's another very similar. Oh, I think I'll use that one. Yeah, what I'll do is just move these out of the way for the moment, and then it would go from here to the, yeah. Are they the same? Oh, they're the same thing. One's a sort of bigger crop than the other. Yeah, okay. So I'll drop these 2. Now I've got, what, 5 of these. I'm not going to put them in size order because there's a progression in terms of it moving. Oh yeah, I had a terrible time trying to track this one. I'll keep that one. I'll keep that one because of the texture you can see on the body. The whole composition of that one seems quite nice. Yeah, sort of environmental. And again, texture and these things at the back, and yeah, that's sort of in the way, but that's life. Yeah, I'll keep all of those. I'll keep that one. I'll keep that one. And then we've got 4 of these. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's do that again. 1. Oh, those 2 are similar. Yeah, okay. Maybe start with that one. So we go from there to there. 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 4 and have that as the final one. Okay, now let's run through and see what we've got. Perhaps that one goes there, little one, bigger, different orientation. Yeah, that's better. Okay. One, two, one, two, three, four. That's it. So that's the ones that I'm going to keep. And how many of them are there? There are 30. So that's something under, just under 5% of, yeah, for a session that didn't go terribly well. That's okay. There are one or two that I quite like in there, and some that are sort of okay. In fact, there's quite a lot of them that are okay. I mean, the ones I like are the springtails, actually, and I like this thing as well, whatever it is. I like that. So let's just have a look here and see what we're meant to do now. Display ordering, yep, and associated rejection, yep, we've done that. So now finally, oh, admin, right. Here we go. Admin. First thing is we want to create a new collection. So the next number is 1180, and I'm going to call it Western Big Wood, and it was the, it was today, wasn't it? So the 30th of May 2017, and I save that as a new version 9.4 RS, and I create, yeah, I think I'm not going to run through all this, it would be boring to watch. Basically I'm going to put numbers and sequence numbers on these. Each of these images that I've chosen will now have 1180 at the beginning, then it'll have a sequence number 01, 02 and so on, and then the date, and then I'll be collecting the raw files together that are associated with each of these and into a directory. If we have this one here called uploaded to Flickr, there'll be a new one of these folders. This is one, the previous one I did, in which it's got these sequence numbered ones and also the raw files associated with them. When I've done that, I'll do a backup copy of these, and once I've done that, all the originals can be deleted. I won't delete them for a bit, but I'll mark them with this P and UL, processed and uploaded, which means that when I do a clean out, I know that I can safely get rid of them because I've got the originals of the ones that I've decided to keep. I'll then upload the JPEGs into an album at Flickr, and I'll upload all of these to an account. I've got an Amazon Drive account where I've got as much space as I want. I mean, I'm paying them however much it is a year for it, not a huge amount. And so I've then got I've got off-site copies of the originals and processed images going back a long way, because I've got, say, almost 1200 of these collections. So I've got 2 copies of each of these collections of processed images and raw files. I've got 2 copies of it here at home, each on an external drive, one of which is only connected to the PC when I'm copying onto it. And I've also got an off-site copy of them as well. So if we now go back, we've gone through the whole of the workflow stages, all of them. That's what it looks like. I'll post the images at or upload them to Flickr, and I'll do a post at talkphotography.co.uk, which is where one of the users asked me or hinted that he would like to see a video of my workflow, and here it is. So that's it for now, a rather long video, but hopefully some people at least may find at least some of it of interest and possibly of use. When I recorded the video, I had my screen in 1920 by 1080 resolution, because that's what the video was going to be uploaded to YouTube as. And when I'd finished producing the video, recording the video, I put my screen back to its higher native resolution of 2560 by 1440, and hardly surprisingly, now I think about it, all the images that I'd processed looked better. So I went back through the ones that I'd marked up as possibles but then rejected, and decided to include 3 of them. The first one was this one where I rather liked I said I liked the colour and the composition, but the detail wasn't good enough. Well, I think it now gets in there. There was the second one that I was curious as to what this thing was, and in fact with a different crop. I quite like that one now. It's an odd crop, but I think it works, for me at least. And the third one was this spider, which scraped through on the quality front. So there's now 33 in the album out of the 648 originals. So that session I used about 5% of the images that I captured, which is okay. You know, throw away 95%. That's not that unusual. A bit less than sometimes, but they were very small subjects, and I think my technique needs improving a bit. But that's about the way it is with this macro. High failure rates are quite normal. After I'd finished making that postscript, I was watching the long editing sequence in Lightroom and realised that I'd forgotten to mark one of the springtails as green. In fact, I think it was one of the nicer images. So this is it, and I've added that to the album, so I ended up with 34, not 33 in the album. So finally, that's it for now. Goodbye.